Welcome to the Endurance Balance. I'm Coach J.W. McKenna. Joining me are Coach Alicia Phillips and Coach Ann Sharkey. Together, we break down the 80-20 philosophy through the lens of real life. Our goal is simple, to help you fit the training into the chaos. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome, everyone, to our very first episode of the Endurance Balance. I'm Coach JW, and with me, I have Coach Ann and Coach Alicia. Being our very first show, we're going to do a little bit of some introductions and just who we are a little bit, not necessarily a reference or a bio type thing, but just a little bit about who we are if you don't know. But first, we wanted to have a very relaxed, kind of informal, non-structured kind of show. So if you're looking for that very structured, very rigid show, this isn't for you, right? We're going to have some stutters. We're going to have some just real world stuff that's happening. So you like that kind of stuff? Cool. You're in the right place. We're going to start off, I think, with talking possibly, we had two options that we came up with. We talk about one was what was a specific workout or training moment this week that might have humbled us, or share an athlete win from the week. And just before we went and hit record here, Ann was starting to tell us something that I cut her off and said, hold on. And we'll get Ann, you can start with that one.
Thank you. Nothing like putting me right on the spot.
That's
So
right.
I'm Coach Ann. I've been an endurance coach. I guess my life I began as a swimmer. Kind of grew up in the swimming world, and then it's a very long story, but entered the endurance space quite a few years ago. Kind of jumped right into running marathons with Team in Training, and then really got back into the triathlon world. It's been quite a journey. I started coaching about 13, 14 years ago now, I think. I always lose track. But different phases of life, right? Like I've been the single mom. I've been trying to fit training in that space. I've been in the corporate world, single mom, also trying to figure out like balance of Ironman training, two kids at home, just craziness. I don't know how I did half of it, but it's doable. So now I focus this chapter of my life, empty nest, living in Florida where it's much warmer than I'm ever used to in December. I'm sorry to both of you. Um, but completely different chapter of life. So now I'm really focusing on my master's athlete for women, menopausal, like perimenopause, all of those fun things that go with it. And then really coaching just kind of a handful of athletes, nothing too deep. I like to keep my roster a little bit on the lighter side just because there's so many other things going on in life. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
What would
Just
you
kind of,
say is your superpower as a coach?
boy, I think just because I've done so much and I've done so many things that somebody will come to me with just oh my gosh, have you like a situation? And I'm like, oh yeah, been there. I've done that. And it's like, and I can get into this a little bit later, but an athlete I was talking to this evening was talking about, nailing down nutrition. And my background is nutrition. And she was talking about strategies for fueling. And she's like, I got to figure this out before race day. And I was like, oh, let me tell you about this. I have run, I don't know how many, say 14 half marathons or 14 half Ironman. And I can count on maybe two fingers on those two races how well it went, like to my plan A, and everything went out. Nothing ever goes the same way as it does in training. So don't feel like you have to figure all of this out. If you have a situation, I've probably been there, and I've probably can help you with some ways that to navigate the waters. So I don't know, maybe that's my superpower.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alicia.
Hi, I'm Alicia Phillips. I live in New Jersey, so I'm on the northeastern side of the US where it's freezing rain right now. And it's interesting. I've always been in sport. I actually grew up as a cheerleader, but I was like gymnastics, soccer, track, you name it, snowboarding. But I actually wasn't really it's not like I was just let up in this endurance thing. I actually say I've always been into like the 5Ks. Actually sucked at running. I still suck at running, let's be honest. But it was mountain biking that I got into first. I started mountain bike racing, and then I was doing Tough Mudder's, but I was a personal trainer at one point with Under Armour, and um, there was a point where I was training athletes, but then doing my own kind of training, and they're like, "Well, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I'm doing this." And then so it was like the shift of, "Well, why don't I do what I'm doing versus personal training and then doing all this endurance stuff on the side." So it was really COVID that I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna make that pivot." And I'm a mom of four. I'm also in the military. My husband's in the Coast Guard, so we travel a lot. So it's always like starting over, moving, starting over, starting fresh. And um, every time I got pregnant, it was always a joke that's like I would be training for a race and then I'd get pregnant. and then during that pregnancy, the training is what got me through the pregnancy. And 4 kids later, half Ironmans, half Ironmans. Um, it's just kind of like evolved. So I love the half marathon distance. I did do my first marathon this year, and I tend to attract other moms, people who are time crunch, who just don't have time for everything, but still want to. I say to every mom, to every female, to every male, to everybody, no matter what happens in your life, like don't lose the hobby. Like we all need hobbies, whether it's sewing, whether it's going for walks, whether it's your dog. But if you become just a mom, like you start to lose who you are. I remember at one point I kind of would always just identify as I'm a personal trainer. And then when that went away, I'm like, you have these questions, and then it's like, no, I'm a runner. I am an athlete. So I tell even my 69-year-old athlete, you are still an athlete. Like no matter age does not define you. So yeah.
Cool. And your superpower? I'll put you on the spot too.
My superpower. So
Being
I
a mom
love
of four. Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
Sorry, I said being a mom of four is a superpower.
Yeah,
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
very true.
I I would say I love science, I love data, but bringing that into like reality. So being able to just look at the numbers, look at the data, and then just say, okay, let's go out and how do you feel? And how do you feel today? How do you feel right now? And making that what matters most.
Very cool. Very cool. And any kind of training story from the past week recently?
Let's see. Well, I mean, I probably could give a bunch of shout outs, but I'm actually going to talk about myself today.
Cool.
This is fun because I'm in a season where I'm not training for anything, and I'm actually just kind of having fun. I always separate strength in my like my run or my cardio, whatever that's going to be. Tend to keep them separate, but because I don't have anything on the training blocks and I'm just training for fun, training for life, I've been doing a lot more like conditioning stuff and kind of having fun with like EMOMs or AMRAPs. And we can talk about that, but just doing things that are uncomfortable, that are challenging to me, has been the wins. And I am so sore, you guys. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Doing deficit push-ups. This was the one I was like, okay, yes, I'm gonna feel that one tomorrow. So yeah, there we go. How about you, JW?
Awesome. Yeah. So, hey, everybody, Coach JW here. Geez, where to start? Kind of been a lot. I've been a lifelong athlete. I played junior A hockey, so I think I skated long before I walked, is what I was told. And lots of other Nordic sports, like downhill skiing, the slalom, super G, raced that as well when I was in high school. And I think right now the sweet spot as a coach where I am is with the ultras, right? And can get very into, like you say, some of the data, and the science, right? I'll be the science guy probably here, and just talking about why this, why that. I mean, and I think it's, and we're going to talk to it a little bit later, but knowing the why is always going to be important. And so I think part of my superpower as a coach is understanding each athlete's an individual. They're going to have individual goals. They may even be racing the same race as their friend, but they're still going to be trained individually. I'll talk to them individually, as to where they need, what their gains, what their intrinsic goals and what they're striving for, I think. Um, so kind of getting that across with my athletes, personal trainer as well. So, every client, whether you like it or not, you're getting strength, right? You're getting the mobility. So it's, one of the big things I'm big on is the holistic person. So yes, you're going to be training for triathlon or endurance sport, but you got to do the strength and be able to do the daily activities of life to go with that. But you're also going to have to balance it with the family, the friends, the work, and everything else. And so I think we're all that way as coaches. But I really sell it to the athlete and just say, like, if your significant other is not on board with you doing 15 hours a week to train for a triathlon, we're probably not going to make it far, right? It's just because you need that support, you need that family, and you need just, aside from the coach, I call it my, what do I call it? I'll have to think of it again. But I have this, circle of success. Sorry, I haven't thrown it out there for a while, but my circle of success, as a coach, I'm only the one person at the table with many others that are going to make you get you to where you need to achieve your goals. So, coaching,
Curious, JW,
yeah,
from this is me learning as an ultra endurance coach, what is the year-round training look like? I mean, when is your off season? Do you have an off season, or are you just genuinely curious?
yes. So I have an off season. I mean, if my athletes are listening, cover your ears. But they all want to take off until like January, and then I'll train in Jan. We know the circle, right? And then I was just talking with an athlete, one of my athletes. He's training for a marathon down in Texas, and he was just like, "Yeah, my friends, they're like, oh, I'm going to start this weekend. Oh, I'm going to start Monday. Oh, something came up. I'm going to do this." I prefer athletes don't really take an off season. I call it base season instead of off season, because we go back to the basics,
Hmm.
right? Where's your core strength? Let's rebuild that. Where's, everything just go reset, right? And you've just focused differently. Yeah. So do you have an off season? No. The more, and as we know, I tell everybody, the more time you have to train for something like 100 miler or a triathlon, an Ironman, a half, a sprint, any of them, the better prepared you're going to be, right? Like,
Hmm.
you want to beat Bob, your neighbor, train more, train longer, train smarter. And
Hmm.
hopefully we'll be able to help all our listeners with that.
I love that. I say too, just the base training. We pivot, so instead of doing cardio first, we do strength first.
Hmm.
So you're still making that, or maybe add a third day versus 2 days or one day. Prioritizing the weakness, because I guess technically that would be our weakness.
Hmm.
But yeah, I love that, and I think as a mindset and just in general as endurance athletes, we don't know how to rest.
No.
Um, so like we are just better people. I joke that my house. Oh, I got a little
Oh,
thumbs up.
look at that.
Um, I will. My house will get cleaned, okay, but my workout needs to stay. It needs to come
Hmm.
first.
No, absolutely. And, just to touch on that a little bit as well is, again, my athlete, one of them, I was saying, hey, when I say this weight, so this intensity and this volume, or, these repetitions, um, please try to stick to it, right? Like, don't necessarily go, oh, I can do 5 more, right? There's right now, again, we're in that base season. We're talking about a hypertrophy, sorry, with strength and endurance, right? So, the big reps, the moderate volumes, and now I just put them into another mesocycle where it's now we're going to talk about some power stuff, right? So now you're going to be doing 3 or 4 reps, only 3 or 4 sets with bigger weights, just because this season is the time to build the muscle, not when you're in your 18-week plan or whatever, your marathon 22-week plan or any of those. Those are more about building endurance. So, yeah, yeah. Sorry, geeking out on the science a bit, but
Now, right?
absolutely.
It's funny because if those of you who don't know us and aren't watching this on video, JW is our Canadian friend, eh?
Hey,
And we you can hear the accent, but it's funny to me because I mean, I've only lived in Florida for shoot, I don't 2 years now. I lose track. But for us, you guys are talking about an off season because you're in the colder climate, right? You're Canada, which is always cold, I feel like, and and, and New
true.
York. So you guys are cold. For us down here, we are loving the little bit of a break from the heat. We still have that darn humidity, and it's something that I've had to adjust to hard because Thanksgiving Day, I'm getting photos from my friends that are running turkey trots and they're bundled up, and I'm like, I had to shed my shirt today because I was just soaked because the humidity is so crazy. So talking about the off season, like we're in our season. This is when the races are happening. This is when it's all going on. So that training cycle that we're looking over the holidays, I'm like, oh, here we are. We have to run over Christmas. But it's just a pivot. And, for me, giving that off-season work more likely is like the middle of the summer where I've lived my entire life in the season where that's race season. So that was a little bit of that was hard for me this year because I'm now coaching athletes that are really struggling with their mileage or their pace because it's so blasted hot and we're running at 4:30 in the morning because at least the sun's not beating down on you. But there's a lot of mental pieces to it too. So that working through that where our off season is going to be over the summertime when you all are racing, and now you're going to see my pictures from beautiful Key West in middle of January for my race. So sorry about that, but
As
it's
we're snowing right now.
yeah, I
Everywhere.
can imagine. But talking about rest in general, like that's one thing that I, looking at the masters athlete, if you will, is programming more rest and doing more quality workouts. So that has also been a big pivot in my coaching cycle, and my style, I guess, is it's just different now. Because life is different. So you're making that mental shift also, and strength training. Y'all are making me feel guilty because I have dropped straight training in the last like 3 weeks, and I will admit to that. But tomorrow morning, I mean it. I'll get up and I'll get it done. So I've got to get back because strength training is not my favorite. I know the benefits. I hear it. I know it. I see it, but it's just not my favorite. But that's why we're all here, and we'll keep everybody going and keep everybody on track, if you will. So yeah, it's huge, and we all just have to keep it moving and keep everybody accountable in the months that get hard for everybody.
Awesome, man. I'm going to pivot just for a second. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
talking about that heat and humidity and having to run at night. So, when an athlete, let's say, doesn't reach out to you, and these are for, let's say, your listeners where you are right now or your athletes, is what do you tell them? What couple of sentence suggestion would you give them how to deal with that type of heat or humidity?
Oh, it's a good one. And it's been hard lessons for myself included because I have my athletes running by heart rate. I run by heart rate. But when you are running, I mean, there were times this summer. I also, let me go back a little bit, that I had done everything that I wanted to do, and I fully went into retirement where I did not run for 2 years. I was just done, completely like new chapter. And then the
You
old
came out of retirement.
I did, and that's what happens when you have friends that are like, "But this is a good idea, just come along." So here we are. So for me, coming out of retirement, straight off, like, no foundation, no base. I literally was out there, like, looking at a 14-minute mile on my watch and dying because it was so hot and it was so humid, and I walked a lot. And for me too, it's, keeping up on electrolytes. Like, I don't the only time I drink plain water is really in a restaurant. I always have a giant jug with me. In fact, I forgot to grab it before we started recording, and I'm about ready to text my husband to bring it in. But I'm always drinking electrolytes to stay on top of it. There you go. Um, and just being patient. It's hard. It's really, really hard when mentally you know that you can be faster and you feel good, but man, that heat is just taking its toll. Um, so yeah, it's got to be patient, and you've got to get the groundwork and that heat acclimation, if you will, if you ever truly acclimated to it. You just have to get it done as safely as you can too. So that's another thing you have to really pay attention to, just being safe about it. And there's nothing wrong with a run walk. There's nothing wrong with just going out and doing a strong power walk if you just are having trouble with your heart rate.
I'll chime in on this one is year-round heat training. I know that's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Whether it's been in the summer, I've been continuing it through the winter, just sitting in the hot tub, sitting in the
Mhm.
sauna, sitting in the steam room. I'm kind of spoiled here. Um, I, I work at a really cool club, got a lot of cool
Nice.
perks,
Nice.
and being able to sweat to still keep that heat
Mhm.
adaptation. So obviously when you pivot or go somewhere, or if you're training in the cold and your race is in the heat, you know, doing those, making those. I heard somebody, one athlete say they they lived in a hot climate and they would sit in their car. I probably you get don't do this at home. They would sit in their hot car and sweat to like get that heat adaptation. But they do say, this is me getting on science nerd, um, like give yourself the best outcome. So if you're out running in the heat,
Mhm.
don't be putting on your winter coat and going for a run. Like do the best thing that's going to make you have the best performance and keep it passive. Keep that stuff passive. So yeah,
Yeah,
if you're
we
inside on on the trainer, turn that fan on, open those windows, turn the AC on, whatever you got to do to keep yourself cool. Don't be turning the heat up and doing those crazy things.
Yeah, and I think I'll add a little bit to the science to that one as well, right? Is that you can lose that acclimation as quickly as you gain it, and you only need 3, 4 days for most of us to kind of get that acclimation. So I have some athletes that they're the same way. Like, do I need to? I'm good. It's -20 right now, 20 degrees Celsius outside, but our race is going to be 35 degrees above. Right? So how do I train for that? And it's just like, what? Not now, not
Mm.
30 weeks out. You will be able to get your fitness, get your endurance built up. The summer months are coming. Pick the hot times of the day to run. Try to pick the days that you're actually going to compete in. So that specificity of what it is that you're going. Pretty good, eh? Um,
Good word, eh?
um,
By the way, 35 degrees Celsius is 95 degrees Fahrenheit.
there you
Oh,
go.
there's the old,
Little warm
yeah,
out in the blazing sun,
That's
top of the
hot.
yeah.
mountains, right?
That's hot.
So, um, you can get that adaptations, right? Just go a few days earlier and get acclimatized to it. So there's many different methods of how you want to do it for sure. It's just for us here right now. I know most of cause I got a few athletes do a lot of what we call the sinister sports races. And they're going to be, I mean, like the Canadian Death Race.
Mm.
The name says it all. It's hot, right? It's hot. It's dry. You're out in the sun. You're
It
baking.
does get hot
You're
in
not going to get
Canada.
that now. So, pick your battles. Sorry, what was that?
I said it does get hot in Canada.
It
Eh?
does. Yeah, eventually.
Eh?
We have about a 6-week window.
Oh, I feel bad for you. It's funny because I go back to and I'm not going to remember what book I read this in, but um, when I was competing in half Ironman distance quite a bit, I had read someplace. I think actually it was Dr. Stacy Sims. I'll give her the little plug there, but her book Roar talks about heat acclimation and the things that we can do to acclimate, and exactly what you were saying, Alicia. Things like sitting in a sauna. Huge benefits. I had never heard of that before. So this was years ago. I was racing Chattanooga half Ironman in May. So living in Kansas City, notoriously cold, we were lucky if we could get maybe 1 or 2 outside rides in before race day in mid-May. So then we're leaving Kansas City, coming down to the south where Chattanooga is usually, it's traditionally pretty warm, especially coming out of the cold. Feels really, really hot. But I had spent probably 2 or 3 weeks before, probably a little bit longer than I needed to, but I would finish my pool workout and I would go right to the sauna at the Y. And I would sit in there for, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. And when I went to race day, I felt amazing. The heat did not bother me. So I don't know. There's definitely, obviously, the science there. It's written in books. There's a lot of newer studies that have been done with it, but I have done it, and I'll tell you, it's a bit of a game changer when you can get that acclimation in. Um, so for us going to Key West, obviously, we're still training in it. We're still in the heat and the humidity. And JW had mentioned something about like training at the time of your race, and I also propose that. Like my husband and I are like, we both have I've been coaching more athletes continuously. He still dabbles a little bit, but he's more of a get up, get it done early so I can get home and get on with my day. Me, I'm like, I'm going to go out closer to the time that I'm going to be running the race. So I will know it's going to be a little bit warmer. Um yeah, it's kind of doing whatever you can to get as close to this race simulation as possible.
Yeah, the human body is amazing. Its ability to adapt if we give it the chance and the right way to adapt to it. Right,
Yeah.
we can do some pretty amazing things.
Yeah.
We're coming up on some time. I'm gonna ask. We'll start with Alicia. Um, Part of the tagline, if you want to call it, for the show is, fitting the training into the chaos. Is definitely something I think a lot of athletes have a challenge with. It's just, um, I'm sure all coaches have heard this, and I'm sure as athletes we've all said it was, I had to skip my long run on Saturday. Oh, what's everything okay? And they'll be like, oh yeah, no, we just had a family event to go to. I was like,
Mm.
oh, well, how much time did you have? Oh, I only had 2 hours. And it was a 3 hour run. And it's just like, but you skipped the whole thing. You had to, why didn't, well, I thought I had to do the whole run, all or nothing kind of thing. Right. No, you fit in what we can, where we can. Something is definitely, movement is going to be what we need. But, I'll start with you, Alicia, is, what do you have for the athletes, right? About fitting training volume, right? That 10 hours, we'll say, into and you're a very good example of, the 4 kids and everything going on. How do you fit it in? What suggestions or advice do you have?
Well, I think you have to have a goal that scares you a little bit, like scares you a lot, actually. I'll give my best example is, I guess, training for this marathon this season. My race was in October, and so I had to train through the heat of the summer with vacations, kids, work, deployments, all the things. And sometimes it was doing 2 hours on the treadmill. Sometimes it was waking up at 4:30 in the morning so you can be home by 8 so you can still coach your daughter's soccer game. It's
Mm.
you really got to want it. It can't just be because, you know, because then it's not going to happen. Um, for me, when I put it into like a kid's perspective, you're not going to miss your kid's travel hockey game or championship weekend thing. So putting yourself first, setting aside the things that maybe don't need attention right now, and just know that it's temporary. This isn't going to be like forever. So go all in, schedule, and commit.
Mm.
I know it sounds easy and it sounds scary, but again, when you hear about the things like if the distance scares you enough, you're gonna nail the training. It usually just kind of goes hand in hand, and you'll surprise yourself, just like I did.
Yeah, I totally 100% agree. And I think
hmm
it's definitely, we touched on it earlier, to support and family and friends and coworkers or other people just, in your circle, is definitely going to, I think, help with some of that. But definitely talk to them and, have it out ahead of time and just know. And
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And realizing kind of like when you look at your week, figuring out what are your key workouts that,
Mm,
okay, these ones you can't miss. And then what are the ones that, like, okay, if I have to give up something, these will be okay. And for me, it's the long run, the hard run, and the easy run. So those are like of the, maybe six workouts, those three are going to take priority. So making sure that one, the long run doesn't lead the way. Granted, maybe if it's a 5K race or maybe, yeah, maybe that's the question. You need to drop your distance and be okay with that.
mm,
As a busy mom, the half marathon is my favorite distance because it's very, you can get away with still working a lot of speed work. The time is less, depending. I mean, it's all relative, but and having those expectations too of what your goal is and how you want to do. So, you know, you can go out and do a race and finish, or you can go out and do a race in PR and um, really feel your best. So, it's kind of whatever season. And maybe you're having a really good season, but then you get sick, or I call them the two I's, illness and injury. Those are the two things we try to prevent and stay far away from as possible, but they're inevitable. So you're gonna have to pivot regardless. And life happens. So but the consistency, the showing up, the, setting the expectations, that's what's gonna get you to the finish line.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've I've done a lot of crazy stuff to get it fit into the schedule. I remember my kids were young and I had to get a 800-meter repeats in for marathon training. Good Lord. And I would bring the kids to the football field. They'd play in the long jump sandbox and I would be running around the track with some of my running friends. I've been up at 3:30 in the morning where I've hopped on the trainer during Ironman training so that I could get my ride in before going to work for 8 hours and then coming home and going to master swim at night. You have to want it bad enough. Um, I've done crazy things like breaking up the long run, especially in marathon training. Like sometimes like kids sports on Saturday, I couldn't commit the whole 10 miles. So I would run a little bit Friday night. I would run the rest of it Saturday morning. Just really trying to figure out that balance. I'll never forget my son's senior prom. I was out on like an 80-mile ride training for Ironman and he's a boy. He didn't need me to be there to help him prep or whatever. And I literally rolled up at senior prom photos in compression sleeves and like recovery slides and a baseball hat and like whatever. I mean, I think I changed out of my cycling jersey, but I was still pretty gross. And all these, moms are standing there so like nicely put together. And I'm like rolling up like I just crawled out of bed. But it was, I mean, my kids knew, they still know to expect it from me. But that's the thing is that I wanted it bad enough. I had the conversation with the kids at the time. Um, and it was an all in, like they knew how important it was to me to get all of those things done. Now my why is a little bit different. I still want to do it. I'm still enjoying, for me, I've just changed my training completely. That's a whole other podcast topic. Training regimen, right? So I've trained totally different this time. I've actually been enjoying running a little bit. I can't, like, I say that to people and my friends who are out there listening will never believe that those words ever came out of my mouth, but I'm kind of enjoying it. And that's really kind of keeping me moving at this point too, where you know, I, I found a different kind of enjoyment out of it than I ever have before. I think it's probably because the pressure's not there. Like I don't have, I don't have a ton of pressure anymore. I'm just going to do it for fun.
That's awesome. And I think all too often we as athletes lose that. I
Mm.
enjoy it. I like doing this. Like we've all heard the jokes like, I just ran a 100 miler. Why? Was there a bear chasing you? Like, well, no, it's because I enjoyed it. I wanted to be out there. I enjoy being out in the woods or I enjoy being, in that pack in a marathon, whatever it is, right? I mean, it kind of comes back to the why of why you're doing it. Um, but it's yeah, you gotta enjoy it. There's going to be sessions that you go to
Mhm.
a dark place, sure, right? Like I really don't like Coach right now. It's not he or she's not my favorite person because this is not fun. But then you kind of come out on the other end and you're just like, okay, actually I feel pretty good now, or it's done, or in general, I just had the athlete today just say, I am like his volume is crazy, right? But he's just going, I am feeling amazing. I'm feeling really good. This is the most mileage I've ever done in a month, and I feel awesome. And he goes, I'm enjoying the runs, And I'm like, excellent. And I think athletes need to kind of come back to that sometimes. We do get caught up, and I'm guilty of it, right? Get caught up in the competition and you get in the training, and sometimes you get into the science and everything else. But why did you start it in the first place, right? Um, and we'll in future episodes we'll talk more to we'll get Anne talking about some of the nutrition and how do we support some of these longer events and shorter events and everything else, and Alicia with the strength and specifics and things like that. But I think really from both what you were saying on the fitting it in is that you still need to make the time for yourself as the athlete, right? So the
Mhm.
busy mom, the busy dad, the whatever you're saying, I'm too busy for this. It's too much chaos. Just carve out the time.
Yeah.
An hour for self care. A day or 45 minutes or whatever it is that you're carving out. I don't think is too much to ask. I'm guilty. My wife Jess, she yesterday she's just like, you're getting a run tomorrow or the next day. No excuses, right? Like, but she goes, nope. All right, I'll move some things around. I'll make sure I get that self care. So, again, that's just that support that I think we always talk about, that circle of success. That when you have the buy in from other people to help you with that, the chaos maybe um, gets a little easier, right? And when I was a first responder, one of the first things that I would say to somebody is like, why do you do it? And it's just because I'm good at organizing chaos,
Mm.
right? Like it's just a show out there. It's a circus, but we can organize it and we can figure it out and we can make it work if we want to. I
Yeah.
think.
Question for you too. Do your spouses or significant others, are they also endurance athletes? Or are they totally opposite?
Oh yes. So my wife will be doing what we call. She wanted to do the four horsemen, but I think we were only able to do a triple. So that'll be 3 ultras in 6 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So
That's
How
it'll
about
be
you,
nuts.
Anne?
Sinister Seven. It'll be the Canadian Death Race and the Black Spur. Right. So
So are
granted,
you supporting her then in this moment?
absolutely.
Are you
Right. So
training
I'll
her?
go run like a leg here. Our kids are old enough now that they can.
I need to meet Jess. Where's
Yeah.
Jess at?
Oh, she's awesome. Right. Like, yeah, she's awesome.
So
So,
are you coaching her through this? How's that
yeah. And we're
dynamic?
still married.
See, okay, good kudos, gold star. Um,
Wow.
so yes, as my
Power
husband and
couple.
I actually we met. This is a whole other long story, but
Hmm.
I
That's a whole nother
anyway,
episode.
yeah, we met because I started talking to him because he has the Iron Man tattoo on his leg, and I had just signed up for my first and only Iron Man. So we started our dating life was I was like, "Oh, if you want to spend time with me, like bring your bike because that's where I'm going to be." And
It's awesome.
bless his heart, he did. So he was also used to Friday night I'm exhausted or Saturday night I'm exhausted. I'm going to throw on the compression sleeves and the baseball hat and this is what you get for a date. So we both are I can take him all day long in the pool, like, I can outswim him, and then he just crushes the bike in the run, so I'm like, "Can I just have one thing? Like, just let me have that." So we don't run t He's really tries to insist on running with me, and I'm like, "You talk too much." I don't talk when I run, so we have a dynamic that works, and it's worked for quite a while now, but it is very cool to have somebody that understands it, right? Like, he knows what it's about. They understand what's happening. Um, so yeah, that's a whole other long story, but for the most part, we are in this together.
So see, I'm the black sheep here. My husband's a total gamer, computer nerd, love you, babe. But that's why I can do what I can do, because I'm like, babe,
Yeah.
gonna be gone for a couple hours, going for my run, and he is just like, got it. I'll be in the basement, or I'll be on the computer.
Yeah.
Our kids are very free reign around here. No.
Yeah, I mean ours are too, and like I was saying, it's just easier with the kids now because they also trail race.
That's
So they are
awesome.
currently 6 and 9, and they're both in their well, Runa's in her like third year. She's completed 3 years of trail running, right? So there's one where they do, I think, just under 7K. There's another one where they do like 2K with the elevations and everything. So I think when they're with you, it just makes it easier. But Jess and
That's
I, yeah,
awesome.
no, we don't run together typically. It's very often if I take the kids, they're like on the bike and we can go. And again, making it work, right? So
Yep.
how do you
Yeah.
fit the stuff into the chaos? It's just like, well, you'll find a way to get in what you want to do,
Oh
I
yeah.
think.
Yeah.
So
There are
I think
times.
that's a good way to
Oh,
segue into kind of Alicia, you were
Yes.
talking about the four,
The 4 Fs. So
okay, the four F's.
we are early in December, getting ready. Can you believe it? We're already going into
mm,
2026.
Oh, it's
And
crazy.
this is something I do every year. I rewrite it down. And the problem is we crumble it up and then we check back in. Like, so I forgot what I wrote. I should, do this a little bit. Anyways, 4 Fs. So fitness, family, fun, and financial. So the financial one, obviously, doesn't quite relate to this, but maybe it does, because you need to be able to afford your races and all that.
Sure.
But I kind of want to leave you guys with a little, I make a quadrant. So I make a big square and divide it into 4 and just put financial things that I want to do, like goals, whether it's start a podcast, sell some more training plans, train this many athletes, anything like that, financially. So my fitness goals, I'm not going to share all of those with you right now. I still got to think of them myself, but I want to kind of just leave you guys hanging or thinking about what you want to do from a fitness standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from a family standpoint. And a lot of these things will tend to cross over, whether it's like plan a vacation, um, do a family race, go, just have a getaway, things like that you want to do with the family, and fitness. So it could be anything related. So yeah, fitness, family, fun. Like again, fun, fitness, those can kind of merge together. But just to kind of take away, instead of new year, setting goals, to really hover it down and hone in on really what you want to do in 2026, or maybe 2027, or what you maybe didn't quite do in 2025 that you want to make it happen in 2026. So
Awesome. I
yeah,
I
think
love
that's some,
four
that.
four F's. Write it down, and whether you are out for a run right now or driving your kids to the school, wherever you are listening to this podcast, 4 F's. So fitness, financial, family, and fun. Okay. Make maybe like 4 or 5 in each quadrant. And, leave a comment in the podcast, or check us out on social media, DM us if you need help setting those goals. So yeah. First
absolutely.
podcast, you guys, we crushed it. How do
We
you feel?
crushed
Ah,
it. One of the segments that we wanted to add to the podcast, and again, go over to Instagram, leave some comments here wherever you listen to the podcast. If you have some questions, right, high level, but we want to start answering some of your questions that you may have about training. So again, whether it's about the strength, maybe it's about nutrition, some of the science, or the data and whatnot behind it. So with that, yeah, awesome. Hey.
hey,
Whoopee.
hey, hey,
um,
Hey.
A. Um, cool. So we're going to be planning to do this 30 to 45 minutes, I guess, as it looks like. So what it's going to be our kind of our time frame. Right now, we're looking for about every other week. And this will be dropping on the 5th. So we plan to drop them on Friday. So when you wake up, the plan is when you wake up on Friday, we'll be there wherever you listen to your podcast. So take us on your short run that you may have on a Friday, add it to your long run on Saturday, listening, anything like that. But again, if you want to fit the training into the chaos, hit subscribe, right? Hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you listen to this podcast. And thank you, everybody, for listening and making it through the 45 minutes with us. And we're looking forward to a lot more. So Coach JW is saying, till next time.
Stay warm, friends.
You're amazing.
That's a wrap for this week on the Endurance Balance. If you enjoyed the conversation, do us a huge favor. Hit that follow or subscribe button on your podcast app right now. It's the best way to support the show. And hey, we want to see your chaos. So come find us on Instagram at The Endurance Balance and drop us a DM. For Coach Alicia and Coach Ann, I'm Coach JW. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the trails.